Hello, everyone. Hello. Welcome to another Organized Money Live. Let me know in the chat box where you are joining me from. We always add our name, our location. Just let me know where you're watching. And also give this video a thumbs up. It really does help me with the YouTube algorithm. But today we are going to be diving into when is it the right time to quit your 9 to 5. So we're going to be talking about my 8-step framework that I used a couple of years ago in order to help me to get organized in order to quit my 9 to 5. So that is going to be today's topic. But if this is your very first time, you've never seen my face before, hello, my name is Elena, and I am the owner of The Organized Money. I help people organize their money and their business in a way and their life so that they can do the things that they want to do, so that they can have financial peace. I have been obsessed with organizing things since I was about 10 years old. And I started the Organized Money in around 2017. And since then, I've just been helping people through my YouTube channel. I also am on TikTok and Instagram. I write a lot of financial pieces, and I am on the board for CNET Money and for Money Digest. So super excited to talk about this topic because I got the opportunity to talk about this topic last week at a financial conference. I was in Atlanta last week talking about how to quit your 9 to 5, and I gave them this framework. And while I was there, and people saw I was posting on social media like I always do. I usually will post on Instagram and just kind of tell people where I am and what I'm doing. And while I was posting, people were commenting on my story and on my post, asking me to do this live, asking me, hey, can we talk about this on YouTube Live? Because this is not usually a topic that I will talk about here. But I was like, of course, I love talking about business organization. I love being an entrepreneur. It is definitely something that I knew I was going to end up doing. Probably when I first started working. It was not long into my corporate career until I realized that this was something that I was going to be doing. So I see that I am in the right place. I see a bunch of people are saying, yes, you don't want to do this 9 to 5 thing. You are tired of being in a 9 to 5. You may be just stuck in the pattern, or you just feel like you have a bigger purpose. You feel like that there's something else you're supposed to be doing. Maybe you're supposed to be coaching. Maybe you are supposed to be teaching. Maybe it's speaking. Maybe you want to write. Whatever the case may be, then this is hopefully going to really, really help you develop your own framework. And so I'm going to start off with a quick disclaimer. And this disclaimer is this. I want you to know that this is my exact framework. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I am risk adverse. So what that means is that I need to have a lot of things in place for me to feel comfortable with making really big moves. So if you are a risky type of person, meaning that you don't mind jumping in and taking big risks, and you have done it in the past with business, you may have to tweak some of the things that I am telling you today. So this is just supposed to be a framework to kind of help you set up your own framework. But every single thing that I say may not apply. You may feel as though, you know what? I don't need that much money saved in order to feel comfortable. Or if I have this in place, then I don't need that in place. So I want you to take this with a grain of salt. I do want you to listen to every single step, because I'm going to give you 8 steps, but you will decide as you're listening to these steps if it feels something that is super comfortable for you, or you feel like you might need more security, or you might feel like you need less. But the idea behind this live is really just to help you develop your own framework for how you can possibly start your own journey and develop your own system for quitting your 9 to 5. So now that we're about to go ahead and get started, make sure that you give this video a thumbs up. And one more thing that I'm going to say before I get it started is that I am starting my November savings challenge, and that is going to start. I'm going to send out an email tomorrow. So I kind of added up, or I put at the top here, and I'm going to show it. This is the link to my mailing list. So if you are interested in joining my November Savings Challenge, I do it every single year. And within my November Savings Challenge, we are saving, the goal is to save $1,000. I always use my cash envelopes to do it, save $1,000 to prepare for Christmas. So we are going to start that tomorrow. So if you're interested in that, make sure that you download or you join my mailing list. I did link it at the very top, so you can click this link here. And then once you are on my mailing list, I'm going to send out the November Savings Challenge list tomorrow. And then we are going to get started. And I'm going to be posting every single day for the month of November on Instagram and YouTube Shorts to encourage you and give you saving tips along the journey. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So the very first thing that you need to do if you want to quit your 9-to-5 job is to assess your readiness. And so what do I mean by assess your readiness? There are questions that you got to ask yourself that are outside of just money. So yes, money is important, and we're going to talk about the numbers in a few, but I need you to think about some other things before we get to the money. So here's the very first question that you need to ask yourself and really be honest with yourself. Do you keep promises to yourself? So when you say, I'm going to film a YouTube video, I'm going to write a blog post, I'm going to do this thing, how often do you actually do it? Because having a framework to make sure that if you decide to work for yourself, that you're actually going to be able to execute and work for yourself consistently, meaning that when you wake up in the morning, you are actually going to not need to be motivated to start to work. You will have the discipline, and whatever you need to actually work is very important in this journey. It's extremely important. So when I started before I quit my 9-to-5, one thing that I told myself I had to do was post 3 times a week on YouTube. I said, I'm going to post every single week on YouTube. And so I started for a little bit, and then I fell off. And I realized that if I wanted to quit my 9-to-5 job, I had to be consistent with posting. Otherwise, I was going to end up having to go back. Like, no matter how much money I saved, I was not going to be able to consistently grow my income into a way to where I did not have to go back. So keeping promises to yourself is extremely important. Developing routines, we'll talk about that, is extremely important. But you got to make sure that you're actually going to do the things that you say you're going to do. Next one, do you have a daily routine? So do you have a routine around your day? Is there, if I say when I wake up in the morning, I have a very consistent routine that I say I'm going to do every single morning. And even with my business, I have certain things that I do every single day. Now, am I doing them consistently every single time? Probably, maybe not. Maybe some things may come up. I'm not saying I do this every single day all the time, but I do it enough. At least 60, 70% of the time, I am going to do the things that are within my routines, because I know that if I don't do them consistently, it's going to hurt my ability to be able to quit my 9-to-5 and not have to go back. Because the goal here is not only to quit, you don't want to have to go back, because I have been a full-time entrepreneur now since 2021, I will say, but it's a story, and I'm going to get into the story of how my journey to entrepreneurship. But one of the biggest things that I had to do to make sure that once I quit in 21, that I would not have to get something else, was to make sure that I consistently stayed on top of my routine. So this was something that was very important that I did decide that I was going to do consistently. How are you able to handle the highs and lows of entrepreneurship? So entrepreneurship has really, really high highs and really low lows, and you have to be prepared for both. I think sometimes we get really caught up in the euphoria of quitting. It's really exciting to quit. You get really kind of pumped up in your head about all the things that you're going to be able to do if you quit. But sometimes we do not assess the other side. Sometimes there are some other things that may occur that may hurt your entrepreneurship journey. So there are some things that you may need to think about or like think through as you start to think about if you're going to quit. Like, yes, you may have some really, really great months, but if you don't have a good month, how are you going to feel? How are you going to be able to talk to yourself? Make sure that you're talking positively all the time, because this can lead to a cycle, especially with negative self-talk. It can lead to a cycle that can really cause self-sabotage. Like, you could self-sabotage yourself back into a job. You really, really can. And entrepreneurship is one of those things can get very heavy if you do not have a plan in place. This is stuff that we're talking about before we quit. We need a plan in place for how we're going to handle the highs and the lows. The highs are easy because everyone's celebrating the highs. But with the lows, we really have to make sure that internally we are okay, that we can kind of talk ourselves out of that bad space. What will you lose if you quit? This is another one that I really started to assess. What am I going to lose if I actually quit? Yes, you gain freedom when it comes to entrepreneurship, but you lose stability. And you will lose some stability because your income is now up and down. So you do have to think about, what are you going to lose at it after you quit your job? Yes, I got that freedom. I get to do what I want, but I lose stability. Yes, I gain purpose and I feel like I'm walking in whatever God has called me to do, but I lose some predictability. Like, my days are not as predictable. Sometimes it doesn't go the way that I thought it was going to go for the day. And I have to be able to handle that. That is a pressure that kind of comes along with entrepreneurship. And so once again, we got to watch that talk. We are going to gain some things and we're going to lose some things. Yes, you're going to lose some benefits, right? You're going to lose health insurance. And we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about the other costs that come along with entrepreneurship. But all of these are things that you definitely have to think about, because a lot of people think about the highs. Like, I'm going to get so much freedom. I have control of my day. I'm going to be my own boss. But sometimes being your own boss is not as nice as you might think it's going to be, because you have to decide what you're going to do every single day of the week. There's no one telling you what to do. There's no predictability, and losing that predictability can sometimes feel very heavy. And so you have to think about that particular thing. And are you patient? Entrepreneurship, as much as like social media loves to tell us it is fun and it's fast and everyone's making $1 million, really and truly, entrepreneurship requires a lot of patience. I had to be patient. It took me 3 years before I knew I was in a position to be able to quit my 9 to 5. So that is long nights, early mornings, because I was doing things before I went to work and things after I came home from work. Sometimes I was tired and I didn't do anything. Sometimes I was working overtime and I wasn't getting paid yet, right? And so this required a lot of patience. I had to be patient with myself, with my journey. I could not compare my journey to anyone else's that was on social media. I had to make sure that I was sticking to my plan and I had a solid plan. So things like branding, building offers, building funnels, rebranding your business, building systems, all of those things take a lot of time. They take a lot of time. And so patience is a really big part of your entrepreneurship journey. So you really have to kind of assess these things before you quit. You don't want to wait until after you quit. You want to think about it before you quit. So these are some of the questions that I decided to ask myself. And the last one might be the most important one, but how are you going to rest? How are you going to rest? The thing about being your own boss and the thing about having your own business is that rest sometimes can become optional in our mind, because we end up working 24/7 because we're working toward our dream. And sometimes it's really, really fun. And sometimes it's like, oh my goodness, I really want to do this, but you end up, there's no end to the day. And so you got to force yourself or structure your day to make sure that you have rest included. So with me, I know that I had to set ends to my day. I made it to where this is my office. If I'm in my office, then I might do some work here. I might do some in my studio or at my dining room table, but that's it. No work goes into the bedroom. No work goes after a certain time, because I have to make sure that I am incorporating my rest. You don't want to burn out on this journey. And I promise you, if you do not rest, you're not going to be good for anyone. You're not going to be able to sustain and keep this thing going. It's going to feel way more work than what you think it is. And it's only because you're not giving your body, your time enough. You're not white spacing. You're not giving yourself enough rest. So this is the very first step into my journey, and none of these have anything to do with the numbers. We're going to get to the numbers, but none of these questions have anything to do with the numbers, because these are questions that really help me to get my mindset prepared for entrepreneurship. And you really need to get your mindset prepared before you take that leap and quit your 9-to-5. If you have any questions as I am diving into all of these, we're about to go into our second point, but if you have any questions, please use hashtag Q before your question, just so I can see that it's a question. And this is the best way for you to let me know that it's a question and that I can easily see it and be able to highlight it. So it is, maybe you want to put Q, because I tried to do hashtag Q and it was YouTube is sending it back. So I'm not sure about that, but put a Q before your question so that I can make sure that I can get to it and I can answer it. All right. So here we go. Number 2, the next thing that you have to do within your journey is know your numbers. You have to know your numbers. Oh, thank you so much, Angelic. Thank you. But please use hashtag Q if you have a question. So with knowing your numbers, this one is kind of like one of the best ways to make sure that you can remain an entrepreneur. So what happened in my journey? I told y'all I quit officially in 2021. But if you look at this slide, I had this really big jump. I had a big jump from 2019 to 2020. And then I had another big jump from 2020 to 2021. This is my YouTube analytics. And y'all know I don't mind sharing. I'm an open book. So I do share a lot of my actual numbers. And so within my YouTube journey, from 2020, I made about 19,000 on YouTube. And then 2021, as you can see, it's a really big jump. I made about 67,000. And so this jump was one of the reasons that I knew I was headed in the right direction. I knew that I'm like, okay, this business is doing well. I'm making a good income over the course of the year. However, I did not jump the gun and automatically quit, but it was the first indication that I could possibly quit. I brought this up though, because I know of a lot of entrepreneurs who will have one really big jump. They will have a really, really good year. It might have been 2020, might have been a really good year for you. And then they make a really big move off of that one jump. And it ends up costing them because they are not looking at trends and they are not looking at how long they are able to sustain this particular income. So just because I did it this one year, it does not mean that I was going to do it every single month. I was always going to hit it. And sometimes what ends up happening is we have a really good month, a really good couple of months within our business, and we automatically think that we can quit. And usually it may end up causing us to have to go back, because this is not a great indication. That one jump is not a great indication that you can automatically quit and never have to go back. So what did I consider? Now, this was a great, it was a great moment for me to be like, okay, I need to do a deeper dive to see if I could possibly keep this up. And so there were some additional numbers that I looked at along with this particular number, along with my income, in order to, really make sure that I could keep this going. I could sustain this over the long term. And so Jennifer says she quit after a good month. And which, here's the thing, if you can, like, if you are not, if you're like a risk taker, you're like, I'm gonna jump on in, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna try, and I don't care if I have to go back, feel free, please do it. Like, this is just my personal comfort. I was so afraid of having to have to go back. I was so afraid that I wanted to make sure that I had like all my ducks in a row. But like I said, I gave that disclaimer at the beginning. Everybody's story is not the same. I know people who quit after a really good week. They had a really great product launch and they were out of there. I didn't hate my 9 to 5. Like, I've been an accountant since 2004. The main reason why I quit my corporate job was because of the travel. It was not the job itself. I actually loved the job. I just had to travel a lot. And that really made me like, I missed my family. I didn't want to have to travel so much. And one of the other reasons is like, we ended up going into full-time ministry. So, but I've been an accountant for a long time and I've always loved accounting. So I didn't hate it, but I hated the travel. I did hate the travel. The email to reach out to me, I'm going to put it in the chat, but it's Elena@theorganizedmoney.com is my email. That is my email, Laura. Okay, so let's talk about the other numbers though. Let's talk about if the income is good and you feel like you can get out of there, go for it. But let me talk about the other numbers that I needed that helped me feel a little bit more comfortable with quitting my job. So here's my first one, my social media analytics. So I wanted to make sure at least 30% of my new followers and subscribers would purchase something, one of my offers. I don't care if it was a planner. It could have been, they did a one-on-one. It could have been like one of my courses. They purchased something from me within 3 months of engaging with me. So not only was I monitoring my overall social media growth, I was monitoring my growth. I was saying, okay, I went from 1,000 subscribers to 2,000, 1,000 followers to 2,000 followers. Of those 2,000 followers, I had probably like maybe 200 or 300 join my mailing list. And then when I was sending out things within my mailing list, offers, planners, just different things that I had, I wanted 30% of those people who were joining to buy something. So if you can follow the trajectory here, I was watching my social media growth. I was watching how many people would join my mailing list. And then I was watching, of those people who joined, how many people were purchasing something, what was going in with my sales. So I was monitoring my social media analytics, but I was also making sure that I was transferring those people, that they weren't just followers, that they weren't just like following my content, but not actually buying anything from me. Because what does that mean? That means I'm a social media influencer, but I am not an entrepreneur, because I identify as an entrepreneur, as someone who is building a business online and not just doing something for entertainment or just for the education. Yes, I educate. Yes, I show, but also I want to make sure that that is actually transferring over to income, because that income is how I'm going to make sure that I'm able to sustain my livelihood. And so this was a big number for me to make sure that my sales were not only increasing, but where were those people coming from? Where were my customers coming from? Were they coming from my social media? Were they finding me somewhere else? Was it word of mouth? How was I gaining these people? And so how can I make sure that I am transferring them from people who just watch my content or just come to a class or just do something, to purchasing something from me, because then that lets me know that people value my content, that they love what I'm actually doing, and that they want to support what I'm doing. So you have to know this number. This is one of your biggest ways to know if the content or the things that you are doing is working. That if I put this out here and I say this, it will transfer from one to the other. And I know that there's a time for building up your social media following. Maybe you are not in a space where you're currently selling right now. Maybe you want to build up for a little bit, but I recommend that you start selling as soon as possible so that your audience know what you are there for. So I was selling, I think I started selling my planners within, it had to be 6 months to a year of me posting content. So I wanted to make sure that, like, as my audience grew, they knew my offers, they knew why I was there, they know that I wasn't just there just to teach certain things. Yes, I'm here to teach certain things, but I have offers, I have courses, I have things that could help you on your journey, and I really would appreciate if you supported what I was building. And so that is something that's going to be super important to your journey. So you really, really need to let people know that this is something that you do, and you need to track it. You need to make sure that they are buying from you and that new people coming in are still buying from you. It's not the same family and friends. It is new people who are coming into your ecosystem. They are consistently buying from you. Oh, hey, Lily. Yes, Lily is quick before she built up a really, really big savings. We were talking, she was at FinCon too, and y'all gotta go follow her. Your Financial Stylist is her name, and she sells a lot of biblical and financial. She does a lot of biblical and financial content. She has a wonderful workbook that I think that would really, really, really bless your life. So y'all make sure y'all check her out. But one of the things that she talked about is how she saved a bunch of money and then she quit. And then she was like, man, it lasted a couple of years. But then after a while, she realized that she was going to have to go back and like really build up the business side first. And so this is something that you may want to decide to do. Yes, please check her out. She's wonderful. She's amazing. You'll love her. So next thing on the list that I did was I had to know my income and expenses. We need to know, how much does it cost for you to live? How much do you need to pay your bills? And not just pay your bills. We're not just scratching the surface with just paying the bills. We also need to continue to save money. We also need to continue to manage debt. We also need to continue to be able to live our lives and have fun and go out with family and friends. You don't want everything to shut down just because you are building this business. So we need to know, how much is all of this? So I would calculate how much I was spending on my bills, how much I needed to still save money. I was saving 10% of my income. I still wanted to be able to do that. I still wanted to be able to invest. I still wanted to make sure that my debt wouldn't get out of control, that I could manage my debt, that I could pay my credit card bills, that if I spent on my credit card, I would be able to pay it off, and that I could still have fun, that I could still go out with friends. I could still go out to dinner. I could still, do things for my kids. Me and my husband still could go out. And so I added up all of these. I added up this amount, saw how much it would cost for the month, and then I saved for 9 months of that number. Now, this is in addition to me making sure I am still increasing online. I am still hitting my income goal, but I saved 9 months of expenses of these particular things before I quit. Now, some of you may say, I only need 6 months. I feel comfortable with 3. I did not feel comfortable until it was 9. When I hit 9 months, I was like, okay, I know that if I needed to go and get another job as an accountant, I had 9 months before I could, of job search, of looking, but I could pay my bills for 9 months. And so this was something that was super important to me. So this is something that you definitely need to consider as well. How many months do you need to save? And then write down, what is that number? What's that total? The next thing that I did within knowing my numbers is I wanted to make sure that I could hit that income number right? Because I needed to know this amount, how much I need for my bills, to save money, manage debt, have fun. That was a total of a certain sum. So let's say my sum, I want to say at that time, it might have been like $2,000 or $3,000. Probably like closer to $3,000. So let's say it was $3,000. So not only did I want to save 9 months, I decided that I needed to hit like $5,000 or $6,000 because it had to be more than what my bills were. And I'll give you the other numbers that I needed a little bit later. But if I needed to hit $6,000 and that was my monthly number that I needed to hit, I made sure that I hit that number every month for 8 months in a row. And if I missed a month, so let's say I hit it on, January, and then I hit it February, and then I missed March, I started over. And I did that because I wanted to make sure that before I quit my job, that I could consecutively hit that number, that income goal, every single month for 8 months. I know that if I could do it for almost a year, then I was in a pretty good space. Then I knew that at that time I could quit if I was able to hit that income goal every single month consecutively. Like I never stopped. And then once I hit it every month for 8 months and I was surpassing my goal, it was so much more than what I thought. Then I knew I could quit. I'm like, oh, I am hitting this number every single time. Now, once again, back to my disclaimer, you may say, I don't need to hit it every single month for 8 months. If I hit it 4 months in a row, I'm good with that. And that is okay. This is, like I said, I want you to tweak this framework. You may adjust this framework. And then that'll help you. Yes. So did my savings come from my business income? It did. So like I said, I am still working my 9 to 5 for 3 years. I opened up my business in 2017. I made like $700 in 2017. I made like no money. 2018, I kind of like started making a little bit of money. I think I might have made maybe $3,000 the first year. 2019 was my first year actually making money. That was the first year. I want to say I made about 19,000 because I had launched my planners. It was the first year I started making money. So that income, remember, I'm still working my 9 to 5. So my 9 to 5 was paying all of my house bills. The savings that I'm talking about, I saved it from my business income. So I was putting some money back into my business, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. And I was investing a little bit, but I was saving a large sum of it. So if I made $1,000 in a month, I might have saved $500-600 of it. Like I was saving like 50%. And so that helped me to build up my savings very quickly, even though technically I wasn't hitting my income goal yet, because I didn't start hitting my income numbers like where I'm like, man, I'm hitting what I would need to make in order to quit until 2020. But from 2019, I started saving. So I started saving in 2019. I was saving every little bit, even though I couldn't quit. I was saving 50% of my income. And then I was using my other income to pay my bills, my 9 to 5 to pay my bills. So that's how I saved up the money that I needed. Because I know most people are like, oh, well, how could you possibly have 9 months of expenses if you still have all of you? Like, yeah, because my 9 to 5, I was still working. My 9 to 5 was still paying my bills. So I was using the extra money that I was making with my business on YouTube, with the things that I was selling, with my courses, in order to save the money that I needed. It was the extra money that I needed. And if I knew I could save it because I still had enough money to pay all of the things, and I was not splurging with that money because I knew I had a goal. My goal was to quit. And so I knew that if I spent my business income, then it was going to take me much, much longer to quit. And so I didn't want that. So I would save a lot of the money. I'm ready to quit now, but I have to live in my car. Good thing you saw this live. Yes, we're going to build out the framework first. We're not going to quit yet. Not yet. But I'm going to give you some options for that as well. We'll talk about that. So I hit that number every month for 8 months. Now, I'm already making money within my business at this time. I just wanted to make sure I could hit an income goal. This is not, oh, you're just making a little bit of money. No, this is me making the money that I know I would need to make every single month in order to survive. And so this is in order to quit. I hit that number every month for 8 months. So this is me in 2011. This was my last corporate job. And when I was pregnant at this time, if you can't tell, but I was pregnant with our first daughter. And when I took this picture was December 19th, 2011. Yes, December 19th, 2011. When I took this picture, I knew I was about to quit. I knew I had been saving, I had been doing stuff. I knew I was going to quit. So, how did I create my exit strategy? This is your next step. With your exit strategy, you could completely quit your 9 to 5 and do your own thing. That is definitely something you could do. That is not exactly what I did. So, with my exit strategy, what I decided to do, because I knew I had to quit this job. Now, the reason why I had to quit this job is because, like I said, I loved being an accountant. I really, really loved being an accountant. My problem with this particular job was I had to travel a lot. So I would travel 4 months out of the year. So I would travel January, February, March. Like I would travel from January through April, a week on, a week off. So I would be traveling and then I would come home for a week. And so the travel was really heavy on me. And I was traveling pregnant and everything, y'all. It was a lot. But I knew I could not build a business traveling this much. It just was not going to be possible for me to actually build my business. So what did I decided to do is what another option that you could take is I quit my 9 to 5, but I did have something else part-time. I did. Now, it was not the same money that I was making with my 9 to 5, hence why I wanted to make sure that I was saving the entire time. But I had another part-time and freelance job that was alongside my business that helped me to sustain and have consistent income because I knew I had to quit that 9 to 5. Like I couldn't travel and build my business the way that I wanted to. So within my exit strategy, I decided, oh, you know what? I am going to quit my 9 to 5, but I am also going to do something part-time. I will also have a book. I think I was a bookkeeper and I was also an accountant part-time. So that means that the income was not exactly the same. I think I was making at that time it was like maybe 35,000. It was a much drastic lower income than I was when I was at my 9 to 5 because at my 9 to 5 I was closing in on 6 figures. However, it gave me the space and the time that I needed in order to build the business because it was part-time, it was freelance. I had way more free time on my hands, not as much as I would if I was a full-time entrepreneur, but this job gave me a little bit more stability. So within your exit strategy, you may decide, hey, I am not going to quit altogether. I'm going to have something part-time so that I can leave this thing or this 9 to 5 because it's taking up too much time, but I still have something else that I can that can keep me kind of going while I'm trying to build this business because the business is not sustaining me yet. And so you can decide how you're going to exit your job, and it does not have to be all or nothing. It doesn't have to be you completely quit your 9 to 5 and do your own thing full time. You may be able to take the skills that you have from your 9 to 5 and do something else part time, right? And use those same skills and do something else. So were you investing in the biz from your accounting paycheck or the business income? So when I first started out, I was using my accounting paycheck to invest into the business. Then when the business came to a point where it was actually making money and it could pay for itself, I was taking a portion of my business income, putting it into a savings account and using the rest of the business income to pay for the business. So it started off initially, it's me putting in all the money. I was not shopping. I was like kind of taking from the accounting income. And then After I would take from the accounting income, I put it within my business. Then when the business started making money, then I switched. I only use my accounting income to pay all of my bills, and then I started adding back all of the things that I kind of cut out for me personally, like the shopping and all of that stuff. I had cut that out for like about 9 or 10 months until I was monetized on YouTube. Being monetized on YouTube was probably the first way I started to actually make money within my business. Once I became monetized on YouTube and I started to get, it was like a couple $100s, but my business itself had very low overhead at that time. So $500, 500 extra dollars a month was like, oh my goodness, I don't have to put any money into this business at all. And for the first 8 months of my YouTube channel, I was using my phone. So I was using my phone. I was standing in front of the window for light. It was very, very low budget. Do not think that I was putting hundreds and hundreds of dollars into my business, because I was not. I was literally using my phone to record. And then when I got monetized on YouTube and I had my first $500 check, I bought a camera. And then I think the camera was like $300, and the other 200 that I had, I was like, oh, I'm gonna put this in business savings, and I saved it. And so I kind of would do that. And then the checks went from 500 to 1,000. And then as I started to grow, that's when I started to adjust what was paying for what. But I only invested into my accounting paycheck when I first started out. After that, everything came from the business. And then I would just use my accounting paycheck to pay our bills, pay all of the bills that I needed. And then after the business really grew and it could sustain me, then I quit altogether. All right. So creating your exit strategy. After you create your exit strategy, this is where you decide how you're going. How does quit look like to you? Is it quitting altogether? And if you hate, like this is something that I've seen often. If you really, really don't like your 9 to 5, like you just really don't like that job, it could be possible that you could get another job. Like you might just not like that job, but there might be another one that can kind of help you sustain yourself until you are able to build up your own. Because remember, like I said, patience is so big on entrepreneurship. It's really big, guys. And if you quit too soon, too fast, just because you hate the job, it's really going to be hard when times get hard. And so one of the things that, like, I actually didn't mind the job. I just hated this travel. And so I just found something else that was part-time so that I could still invest my time into what I really wanted to do, was to build my own. And so as I'm building my own, I was able to still go to my part-time job and actually enjoy it. It wasn't like I was pulling out my teeth every time I went to work, because I didn't mind being there. I just always knew that I wanted to be a full-time entrepreneur. Full-time entrepreneurship was always the end goal. And as I had, I would work other jobs, it was just like, oh, okay, cool. I know this is funding my dream. This is funding other things that I want to do. And I am never against anybody who wants to work part-time along with being an entrepreneur. I actually believe if you can do it, definitely do it. I know I got to a point in 2021 where I basically, like, everything kind of changed. The structure of what I was doing was changing. And so I ended up really diving into full-time entrepreneurship. The travel that I had as a business owner, it was really the best decision to make sure I could go all in and really build up the organized money the way I needed to. But as long as that stability and that consistency that does come with a 9 to 5, especially if you can get benefits, there's nothing like it. Like, it's the best of both worlds. So if you can make it work, I would say try to make it work. However, if you know it's not for you, then that's why we're doing this. That's why we're talking about this. But definitely have an exit strategy. The next thing that you have to do is diversify your income. Entrepreneurship is very challenging. it can be very, very challenging. And so one of the things that I decided to do is that I was going to diversify my income. I was not going to put all of my eggs in one basket. I was not just going to rely on brand deals, which is what a lot of YouTubers, a lot of influencers end up doing. You have a big audience. Most brands want to get in front of that audience, but brand deals are very, very sketchy. Like, they're up and down. Sometimes brands have it, sometimes they don't. And so I never wanted to rely on brand deals. So I decided that I wasn't. So what do I rely on? Here are my diversified income. This is my different income streams. This is how I decided that I wanted to spend my time. And this is based on the things that I love. I absolutely adore planners. Like, if you follow my channel for any amount of time, then you know that I love planners. So as you can see, products is my top one. I love planners. I love talking about planners. I've had a planner since I was 10 years old. So that is something that I love to talk about. I also love teaching. I love talking. I'm on YouTube right now. I love doing this. I love speaking. So courses and speaking, definitely on there as well. I have a membership. That is one of my income streams. I also do monetize my social media. So I make money on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. I do brand deals. I do brands and affiliates. They are just not my main source because, once again, they are very inconsistent. And I do workshops in person and online. Now, here is my caveat to this particular income, all of these income streams. I did not build all of them at the same time. I took my time with every single one on here. So what does that mean? That means that the very first one that you see with products, I did just products probably for the first year. Now, the only one that was probably going on at the exact same time is social media monetization, but that's because of the way that I promoted or that I did my content. It just happened to be on social media. So that was always going to be happening at the exact same time. But when I was working on my planners, I was solely working on my planners. I wanted to make sure that I could excel at one thing at a time. If you try and build multiple streams of income at the exact same time, it's the same thing that I talk about with building multiple social media at the exact same time. It makes it much, much harder. It makes it so much harder because you can't focus. Like, it makes it hard to focus. So yes, I have all of these streams. Yes, I do. However, I have also been in business for 7 years. Like, as of right now, as of today, in 2024, where are we? I have been in business for 7 years. So the very first year that I started with anything, it was 2019, and I started with my product. I think I had only products for the very first year. Then I added courses, which was the second year, then membership, which was the third year of my business. So it's almost like every year I added something. I would add something, and then I would kind of build from there. And then I had times where I was focusing on my YouTube channel, and then I would focus on that for like 8 months. And then I started focusing on my Instagram. And then when I grew that to a certain point, I think when I got to my YouTube channel to 100,000, because that was my goal, then I switched to Instagram and I started kind of posting more there. My point here is that yes, you want to diversify your income, but no, you do not want to do it all at the same time, because it's very challenging to build it all at the exact same time. You need to focus. You got to kind of pay attention to different things. Let me ask you this. Would you take away items as you were adding to them? How did you know what products to add and take away? Oh, that's such a great question. But I'm gonna wait because it kind of goes into my next point. And so I'm gonna talk a little bit about that when I get to my next point, because it really, I think it's gonna help answer your question. It's not my actually. We're going to talk about it. It's not this at next point. I think it's the point after this, but we're definitely going to talk about it because I'm going to talk about how I knew what products were working and what was not working within my business, which is a very big part of being an entrepreneur. All right, real quick, before we get into that one, consider the additional expenses. So you have some additional expenses that come with your business. there are some other things that we have to consider. Um, Medical, dental, vision, all of that. We talked a little bit about it earlier, right? When we were talking about things you're going to lose, which means that now that we're talking about business income, you're not only trying to support your house and cover your own pay, you also have to come in and make sure you can get medical, dental, vision. I had to shop around and actually purchase my own medical insurance. So I had to get medical insurance. I also had to get business insurance. If you want to be a speaker, especially if you want to get on larger stages, this was something that I did not know. But once you start getting on larger stages, they want general liability insurance. They want to make sure that if you get up there and you say something that's not right, that they are not liable. And so you have to have what's called speaker's insurance. And so I had to get speaker's insurance, and I didn't even know that that was a thing. And then once I found out it was a thing, I was like, how much is that? Right? So I had to add that into my business expenses. Also, taxes. Taxes are huge. I realized once I hit my first, I think it was my first multiple six-figure year. I think when I first hit six figures, I realized that I needed to change the entire structure of my business. So initially when I started, I was an LLC. I found out that I needed to be an S Corp, taxed as an LLC. And so I really figured out that once I got a $10,000 tax bill. That's how I found out. That's how I figured out that I needed to restructure my whole business. It was definitely a learning curve for me. And I ended up writing an article on CNET about it, like how I didn't realize that I needed to switch my business structure until it was too late. And it cost me $10,000. I had to pay. I had to pay for it. And so you can remain an LLC up until a certain point. And so if you're still an LLC, you may be okay. You may be okay up until about six figures. Once you hit six figures, that's when it starts to get a little sketchy. That's when you may really want to consider becoming an S Corp. Yes, speaker's insurance is a thing. It is definitely a thing. I think that it depends on the different stages. It depends on where you are. But I found it out when I was going to be on one of the bigger stages, when I was going to be talking to a larger audience, and they asked me for it. And I was completely caught off guard because I was like, wait, what is speaker's insurance? And looked it up. Definitely a thing. Basically, you need general liability insurance that covers any speaking engagements that you may do as well. The other thing is business growth. Like I said, I go to conferences. I'm always learning something, and you want to continuously learn different things within your business. So as you are trying to learn about different things, you need to include those costs so that you don't stop learning, because that can hinder how much you're able to grow and how quickly you're able to quit. So these are things that you just got to consider as you are building, as you are growing. You got to think about these different things before you quit your 9 to 5. All right, now we're going to talk a little bit about the question that we got a little bit earlier. And this is probably one of my biggest points. If you don't take away anything that I've said today, make sure that your growth is facilitated. Growth does not just happen. I used to think, oh, if I post enough and I'm on YouTube and I'm posting on Instagram and I'm doing all the things, then I'm just going to grow. Like, all of the people are just coming. They're just going to find me and they're going to think I'm fabulous. And then that's it. Growth does not, it has to be facilitated. You have to pay attention to your numbers. You have to structure your day, not just to work on your business or not just to work in your business, but to make sure you're working on it. You got to work both. You got to work in your business and on your business. So what do I mean by in your business? For me, in my business is filming a video, because filming a video is something that I need to do for YouTube, or I might be talking to clients, doing one-on-ones, making sure that my client, doing follow-ups with my clients. I might be packing orders, right? Or looking and seeing how many orders that I have. All of that is working in my business. But you also need to make sure you're working on your business, because working on your business is one of the top ways that you can actually see how your business is growing, if it's growing, how you're doing, all of the things. You got to make sure that you are doing both. So what does it look like for me? And this is where we're going to kind of get into the nitty gritty of how I work on my business, because it's hard to do both, but you can manage it if you manage your schedule well. So every first Friday of the month, I am the CFO of my business. So what does this mean? This means that I am looking at all of my numbers. I am seeing how much income did I make? How much expenses did we make? Did I hit my income markers? Did we have to do anything crazy with spending this past month? Did I have to do anything? Like, I am the CFO. I am looking in QuickBooks. I am monitoring my taxes. I am doing all the things to make sure this last month I hit all of the numbers that I needed to hit financially. So I am going to be the CFO of my business. The second Friday, I'm the COO. This is where I am I am the chief operations officer of my business. So like you said, I know I saw the question earlier, where how do I know if I am adding a product, taking away a product? How do I know if something's actually making money? This is going to be the time. When I am the COO, I am looking at what products are doing well, what products are not doing well. Are people getting an offer? Are they not getting an offer? Let's say I did planners and I come out with 5 planners. Are people buying them all, or are they only buying 2? If they are, I need to assess the other 3. How much are they costing me? Is it worth it? Like, should I continue to use this part? Should I continue to push this offer? This might be something that I'm just wasting money on because no one is actually kind of buying it. It might be a waste of my time. And so this is the time where I'm kind of like thinking through if it's actually working. Are people buying the things that they're buying? And I will also decide if I'm going to add a new product. Sometimes I'm like, yep, it's working. I need to add something else. And so this is the second Friday of the month. The third Friday of the month, I'm the CMO. That's when I'm thinking about my social media. What's going to happen? What are we talking about on Instagram, on YouTube, on TikTok, on LinkedIn? If I am doing articles, when am I going to talk with CNET? Am I trying to push and talk to a certain brand? Are there collaborations I want to do? Do I need to do pitches? All of that happens on this third Friday. This is the time where I am the CMO. So Monday through Thursday, I'm in my business. I'm doing all of the things that I need to do. But every single Friday, at least for 4 hours, at least for the Friday morning, maybe not Friday evening, but because I might go back to working in my business, I might have some other things to do. But every Friday morning, I am one of these things. I am going to be the CFO, the COO, the CMO, or the CEO. And under the CEO, this is where I'm looking at, where do I want to be in 5 years? How is the brand overall? What, do I need to send out polls to my audience? Do I need to see where are we overall as a business? And so with every single Friday of the month, I am one of these things for at least 4 hours. And so what this does is it makes sure that I'm not just working in my business, that I'm working on my business, that things are actually moving, that I am making money, that I have a marketing strategy, that I know what's going to happen for the next quarter or the next year within my business. It kind of keeps me within the ecosystem of making sure that I am constantly providing value and that I'm making money, right? Because if we aren't making money, this is how these things can get away from us. And this is how we can realize when it's way too late that we're just not making enough money and we need to kind of get back into a 9-to-5 or something else. And so there have been times where if I was doing something, I'm like, man, this isn't working the way I thought it would. I need to switch some things. I might need to invest in something else. I might need to earlier this year, I was like, man, I think I'm gonna need to get an industrial printer because I was trying to get out orders, but it was taking me, I was monitoring how long it took me to produce the amount of planners that I needed to ship. And I was like, it's taking me too long. It's taking me way too long. So I decided, you know what? I need to invest in my business growth, and I need to make sure that as the COO, I get an industrial printer. And so that's what I did. Hopefully it comes in about 2 weeks because I wanted it before Christmas so that I could get out my orders faster, because I knew that that would provide value to my clients. If you're buying a planner from me, you want it as soon as possible. And I want to send it as soon as possible. But I couldn't do that with the equipment that I currently had. And so things like this happens when you are these titles. And I name them these titles on purpose because I want to make sure that I am constantly making sure that I know that this is not working in your business. This is on your business. You are the CEO, the CFO, the COO, the CMO, until you may decide to hire someone else for these particular things. But while it's you, you need to add space and time to be these things, to make sure that you're thinking outside of the realm of the little details of what goes into being a business owner. All right. Next, I think we got 2 more. Here's another one. Connect with other entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurship is very lonely. It can be extremely lonely. And so one thing that I did miss about having a 9-to-5 was having a water cooler. And having a water cooler was just having someone else that I could kind of be a sounding board, someone that I could like kind of chat about or tell different things to. And so creating your own water cooler, I have a bunch of people now that if times get rough, times get hard, I don't know what to do, I will ask. I will send out a text message. I will DM certain people, and I will kind of create my own sounding board so that I don't feel as alone in this journey. And this could definitely take you some time. But as you go to conferences, as you connect with other people that are in your field, as you talk to different people, make sure that you are creating that water cooler effect, that you have people that are kind of adjacent to you and above you. Do both. I have people that are kind of on the same level with me and people who are above me that I can kind of talk to and ask them different questions about their business. If they're above me, I might say, if you got stuck in this area, how did you get out of it? And if we are adjacent, they may have the same problem. Did you find an answer? And if not, if they find an answer before me, then they will tell me. So this is something that you definitely want to do. And the last one is knowing what type of entrepreneur you want to be. So I think on social media, a lot of people have made us feel like you got to always be scaling. You always got to be growing. It always got to be what's bigger, what's better, how much more money you can possibly make. But what I decided a while ago, and this is probably like maybe a year or 2 ago, so this is pretty new for me, is that I didn't want to scale I wanted to scale, but to a certain point. I wanted to make a nice amount of money, but it was only to a certain point. And I knew that I was capping myself at about 7 figures because I decided that I was going to be a lifestyle entrepreneur instead of a scale entrepreneur, which means that I don't want 100 people working for me. And this is because I decided when I wanted to go into entrepreneurship, it's because I wanted to do something that I absolutely love, not because I wanted to create another job for myself and have a bunch of people working under me that I did not want to have to manage. And so very quickly, I learned that it was going to cap how much I made if I didn't hire a bunch of people. Now, I do have some contract workers that work with me, but once again, I don't mind the things that I have asked them to do because I don't like doing those things. But there are other ways that I could possibly scale, but it would take me away from the work that I love. If I hired a bunch of other coaches that would coach my clients so that I don't have to coach, I mean, yes, I could make probably more money, but I really like coaching. I like teaching. I like those things. And so I didn't want to move away from those things just so I can make more money. So I knew it was capping how much money I would make, but I was okay with that. And so for me, I have about 4 people that I kind of use within contract work to help me with the shop or to help me with like a virtual assistant to help me with assistant things, but not an entire crew of people, because I knew that managing a bunch of people would be too much. All right. So now that we've got into all of that, I love your questions. If you have any questions, make sure that you leave them. I'm here for like at least another like 3 or 4 minutes if anybody has any questions. And another thing, please don't forget, our November savings challenge starts tomorrow. If you want to like kickstart your savings, even if it's for quitting your 9 to 5 or for Christmas, that starts tomorrow. And so I am like going to send out an email. I am going to, it's the 30-day savings challenge that I use in order, and I use my cash envelope system in order to do this. But I'm going to be sending out an email with the 30-day challenge sheet so that you can print it out and we can start saving on November 1st, which is Friday. So we start officially saving November 1st. The goal is to save $1,000, and I am going to be showing you how I do this along with giving you some saving tips. How do you know which platforms to join? So if you're talking about the November savings challenge, if you're on my emails, if you get any of my emails, then you will automatically get the email tomorrow, because tomorrow I'm going to send you an email and tell you all about it. If you are not on my, if you're not on my mailing list, then I am about to add the mailing list link here. You can definitely join if you're not on it. But if you're on my mailing list, you're automatically going to get the message. You're going to get the email tomorrow, and then we are going to start, and then you can download the chart. It's absolutely free. This does not have cost. Oh, how do you know which platforms to market your business? Sorry about that. So first, I would start off with the platform that is the most comfortable for you. So for instance, YouTube just felt good to me. It felt like home. I love talking about planners. I love talking to the camera there. I liked long form videos more. So that is where I started. I started doing short form later on, but my first platform was YouTube. And it's just because this is one of my favorite platforms. I mean, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram, I'm in the other places because I just like to like kind of show up there. But if you realize, even when I'm there for this class, I was pushing people to YouTube. It was really like, hey, I'm going to be on YouTube at this time, so join me on YouTube. So YouTube was just like, it felt comfortable for me. So I would say start with the platform that feels best. Some people love TikTok because there is like an unpolished feel to TikTok. You know, you just kind of pull out your phone and you just start talking, right? Like you just immediately start talking. Other people prefer Instagram. It's a little bit more polished, but it's not long form like YouTube, so they prefer there. I like YouTube because I like long form and I love showing slides and stuff like that. And I feel like YouTube is the easiest platform for stuff like that. So that can y'all hear me now? Okay. Okay. Hopefully y'all can hear me now. So sorry. Let's see. I think my mic mistakenly got unplugged. Let me move this to the side so that you can hear me. Okay. Am I on Facebook? I am on Facebook. I am not as active on Facebook because my Facebook page, but I do try and post there more often. It is not one of my favorite platforms, but I am there. Let's see. I'm gonna go back. Do you offer any coaching on how to be the CEO, CFO? Yes. So I did a coaching program, and it's coming back in January. I just don't usually do it in the month of December because of Christmas, most people, but in the month of January, I do the organized business. The organized business is my business organization. So all of the stuff that I was kind of talking about, like kind of like high level talking about, we go into way more depth in organized business. And I talk about like the steps, the different things that you need to do to become a CEO, a CFO, a COO, CMO. How do we decide if products are working? How do we decide if products are not working? How do we make sure we have certain income goals? Everything that I do with my income is based off of percentages. So I have 10% going to tithing. I have 10% for business savings. I have about 40% going to payroll, 30% going to my business expenses. And so all of that is like based on all of my percentages and how I do certain things. And I talk about all of that within the organized business. It's very in depth. It's a 4-week program, and I always send out an email before we start. So if you're on my email list, then you will get the notification of when the organized business is coming back. And it's definitely a 4-week program. So you got to kind of set aside. And we also do have like office hours, which means it's time where I kind of jump on live and we talk specifically about your business. So instead of it just being like general, like, I really wanted to make it to where it was about your business specifically so that you could ask your specific questions tailored to your industry, and I can answer how I would do it if that was the industry, and like how we can kind of come up with the statistics and all of the analytics for your industry. But yes, it's coming back in January. And so if you want to know more about it, make sure you're on my email list. I put my email link in the chat if you're not on my email list. And then as soon as it's coming back, you will definitely see and know about it. Budgeting, financial help. Yes, I do budgeting and personal budgeting, personal finances is $85 for an hour session. It's a 60-minute session with me, and the link should be in my description box. If not, email me, but I think it's in my description box, and you can book with me. Usually I do them on Thursdays. And it's usually on Thursday afternoons where we can kind of jump on and do it. Okay, what if you're unemployed but want to start your business or start a YouTube channel and introduce products? Part-time may still need to be an option. Yeah, don't have to go back to a 9-to-5, but I would definitely suggest a part-time, Lauren. The reason why is, especially unless your husband is willing to put some money into the thing that you are growing, then I would suggest doing something part-time. And it's literally just for supporting what you are currently building. Because once again, it does take time. I wish that I could say that it didn't, because I think that most people, when I'm even telling them about my journey, they're thinking that, it's not going to take that much time. No, it took me about 8 months of posting before I really saw any like growth within my journey. And so that can take a nice amount of time, especially if you're putting your own money into it. And so you definitely want to make sure you kind of got something along the lines while you're doing that. You mentioned working part-time and working on your business as well. I like that idea, but how do you survive when it comes to bills, paying off debt, et cetera, et cetera? So it definitely depends on how much you need. So I said, before I quit my 9-to-5, before I quit the full-time thing, I had paid off about $25,000 of debt, and I had also saved up about 9 months of expenses. So I had drastically decreased how much I needed to survive. And if like you can kind of figure out that balance, you may want to, if you hate your 9-to-5, you may want to switch to another 9-to-5 that you don't absolutely hate, so that you could pay off that, kind of get in the space to where you don't need as much, and then go to something part-time while you're building your own. Or, there may be something where as you're building your own, it can kind of give you the other half of your income. Like if let's say you can't do it all, but it can kind of help you. Like I know at one point in time, I would pay myself like $300 for my business. It couldn't sustain me. Like I was making like doing $300 every other week, so it was $600. It wasn't a lot, but it would help me do little things here and there because I was working part time, right? And so you gotta find that happy mix of what you have going either full time, part time, and how much you can possibly make within your business consistently. You just, it's got to be something that's going on consistently. And so for me, it took me a while to hit the higher number of what I needed altogether, but I could make it work with having something part time and still doing my business. So you just have to kind of play around with the numbers and see what works for you. But if you have higher bills, I would work off paying off some debt first. And then even if you would be surprised, paying off like 2 credit cards like helped us so much. It gave me it put like $500 back into my budget, and it made it to where I could kind of work part time because I didn't need as much. I didn't need as much. I went from full time to part time after a year about that, went back fully to being a stay at home mom. Doing it in steps really worked. Yes. Doing it in steps is probably one of the best ways that I feel like it definitely helped me. And it took away a lot of the fear because I was super scared. But I'm like I said, risk averse. I'm super scary. Like I was like, oh my God, what if this don't work? Like that was me a lot of the time. So doing it in steps kind of gave me more courage. Definitely gave me more courage. The organized business, what if your business is in the very beginning stage, like someone who needs help with building a business, even if they currently have an LLC? If you are just kind of starting out, I would suggest doing a one-on-one and not the organized business, because the organized business really is like kind of set up for those who are already kind of working their thing, they're working their business, and they're trying to get full time, or they're trying to get to that next level, but you already kind of got the framework there. Like you already know what you want to do. You may have already have an LLC. You might already like have the pieces in place. You're just trying to scale it to a point to where you could be full time. That's really like, that's kind of the organized business sweet spot. However, you could do a one-on-one with me. Like I said, that's like $85. We could jump on a one-on-one. And in that session, I can kind of give you those beginning steps, like, oh, how we want to just do the basic setup for your business, and like setting up routines for your day and things like that. Like how I started off with the beginning of the presentation. All right. Do you use a CRM? And if so, do you recommend one? Yes and yes. So I currently use Kajabi for a lot of my stuff. I send out my emails through Kajabi. I also have my membership through Kajabi. I also have an app, which I'm still like working on, but it's through Kajabi as well. And so I do highly, highly recommend that you have a CRM, because as you start to build within the organized business, I talk about building funnels a lot, because funnels are like the gateway to get everybody know, like so that everybody kind of know what's going on within your business. You cannot rely on social media. This is why I will tell you, we're on YouTube right now, but I'm saying, hey, sign up for my mailing list. Please sign up for my mailing list. Please, yes, give this video a thumbs up. Yes, like this video. Yes, I might talk on YouTube, but for the most part, I do want you to be on my mailing list, because that's how you're going to kind of know what's going on. If I post something, about 7% of people are actually going to see it. And so being on my email list is the best way to kind of stay in contact with you. And so I highly recommend that you have a CRM, because that's the best way for you to talk to, tell people what products you have, tell them what courses you're doing, tell them when you're going live. I did that for this class, right? It's the best way for people to kind of know what's going on. How do you determine which bank is right for a business account? Definitely depends on the business. Definitely depends on your kind of comfort level and the like a lot of business accounts have certain stipulations with them. Like they want you to maybe have certain direct deposits, certain things that's kind of going on. And so I am currently with Chase. However, I don't always recommend them. It's mainly because my personal accounts, and I have a bunch of, like, I have like 5 accounts currently with them. And so it was super easy to kind of just stick with them. However, I would also look at like credit unions and other spaces, because usually they have a lot more opportunities and money available for businesses rather than those bigger banks. So it would be like shop around, definitely shop around. Like I said, I like some of the bigger banks don't usually, they aren't as helpful. They usually aren't as helpful. Yes, so this will be up for replay as soon as we jump off. If you come to my YouTube channel and click on the live part, so there's like videos, shorts, live. If you go to live, you'll see the replay of this particular class and all of the other classes that I have done. I always leave them online. I want them to be available to you forever and ever. That's the point. Yes, I missed the start of this, but hoping to start a YouTube page. Yes, 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 yes. So please just catch the beginning of this. I mean, once I jump off, then it will definitely save and you can come back. You can watch the beginning. You can pause. You can come back, all of that. That's why I leave them up, because I want them to be a resource for you forever and ever. Can you just do a regular checking account and deem it your business account? I would not recommend that. So when we are talking about a business account, the thing about having it be under your business name is you get a lot of tax benefits, tax breaks. You can write off expenses, but it needs to be separate from your name. So when you have a checking account that's under your name, it's deemed a personal account. And a lot of times the tax gods frown down upon that. The IRS does not like it at all. And so they want it to be structured properly. So I would say get the LLC, get the bank account, do it the right way. It will save you so much headache in the long run, because trust me, you could have a really good year and not be expecting that you're going to have a good year. And you can make a lot of money. And then when you make a lot of money, the IRS is coming for you and you have no tax breaks, because you put it under your name thinking it was going to be something easy and fun, and it wasn't going to be an issue at all. And you had no idea that something was going to go viral. And now you made $20,000 in a month. And taxes are coming for you. And so I always just recommend that people start off the right way and just start it off as a business account, business checking account, because you just don't know. You can't predict good or bad. Most people are saying, oh, it's probably not going to do this. It's probably not going to do that. It'll be easy. It'll be fun. I have time. And you don't know. I promise you, I've seen it happen. And as someone who has had a $10,000 tax bill, it can happen. It can definitely happen. And if it happens to you, you're really gonna be sad about it. So I would say do it as a business account. Do it as a business account. All right. It seemed like that was the last one. So happy to help you all, and good luck on your journey to quit your 9-to-5. I really, really do believe that if you set this framework in place, if you kind of decide how you're going to do this, it's definitely going to work out for you. The main thing that you have to do is just keep showing up. I kept showing up for 8 months. I was posting on YouTube and no one was watching, but I would consistently show up and show up and show up. And then after a while, people started watching, people started caring, people started commenting. And then I had a really great year. I had a really, really great year. And so I know that can happen for you as well. I've seen it happen over and over and over again for people who have seen other people do it. And if you consistently show up and put these things in place and really start to organize yourself, it will happen. So start getting organized, start preparing, use this framework, and let me know how it's going. Y'all make sure that y'all like this video, give it a thumbs up. It does help me with the YouTube algorithm. And I already put my email within the chat box. So if y'all want to message me personally, you can definitely do that by sending it to my email, elena@theorganizedmoney.com. All right. Thank y'all so much. Y'all have a good one. Bye. See y'all later.